finishing your studies takes a very, very long time. You are giving your effort, your time, your energy in trying to finish the studies. But is it really worth it, all of your sacrifice? We think that the education system that are being implemented today have been implemented for a very long time. And what are being taught in this education system is just a repeated topics that the system actually want the students to always remember, so they repeat these studies. We think that when people doesn't actually need for a topic to be repeated, it's okay for them to move into the next level so that they can maximize their studies or their higher education, and they don't need to waste their time. So therefore, we don't want to waste the time of these students, the time of these people anymore, their energy and their efforts anymore. Our stance in this debate is, as the government, we want to arrange students based on their intelligence and academic performance rather than on their age. Our goal in this debate is we want for children to be able to study optimally based on their intelligence. Our model is three. Firstly, we want when children enter the age of entering elementary, we want them to take this test so that we can determine which class that they can be assigned to. The secondly, we want that people after they graduate elementary school, for example, we want them to take this test again before moving into middle school and so on and so forth. And the third one, we want to make sure that there is a meeting with qualified counselor weekly or monthly, and also supervision so that we can prevent cases such as bullying that might happen in this age gap of people in the class. So in this debate, I will bring you two arguments. Firstly, about arranging students based on their age is outdated. Secondly, about maximizing education of our children. Now, moving on to my first argument about arranging students based on their age is outdated. Let's firstly look at the characterization of education itself. Education goes with a very, very long time. It requires a long time that even just the compulsory studies, you need like 12 years to finish that. And the topics itself that is being taught in this education system is just being repeated so that you can remember it clearly. And we think that education is very important for these people to have because you need it as a standard to find a good job, for example. And let's look at the characterization of students. We say that students want to maximize their education so that they can get the best opportunities in finding their jobs for their life. And we think that actually children doesn't have a lot of interest in studying what they already mastered in a very first time. So for example, when you have already studied a certain history, we don't think that you need to repeat that again in the middle school when you already study about that in elementary school and already mastered that in elementary school. So then the outcome of this characterization is 2 points. Firstly, we think that there is no need for children to actually repeat the topics that they already mastered because it will waste a lot of their time when they can actually study for another topics and they can study for more topics. The second one, we think that when children actually finish their minimum higher education, for example is bachelor's degree, it's they already reach their time to be productive and their time to find jobs in their 20s, for example. And we think that there's not much people that are interested to actually pursue higher education that in a form of master degree, for example, and they just choose to just go and find a job with their bachelor's degree. We think that the opposition might argue that they want to just change the education system all on its own, but we think it will be very hard and unpredictable to implement because not all of the things that will be implemented in this new policy will be suitable and people can actually adapt to this new policy. So we think that the harms and the possible things that can go wrong with the system is actually a lot more and it will take a longer time to implement. So therefore, we think that this is already the best solution to implement. And in conclusion, we believe that it is justified for the government to implement this motion because arranging students based on their age is already outdated. Now, moving on to my second argument about maximizing education of our children. We think that a lot of people have wasted their time at school, at compulsory school, because there are a lot of things that they learn are just being repeated, and they have already mastered this topic, as I have already explained to you. And we think that the likelihood of this to happen is because the education system want the children to always remember and always keep in this mind what the topics that are being taught by the education system. Now let's look at the importance of this problem. We think that firstly, not all of these people must do that repeating the topics so that they can always remember. We think that there are people that have the capability to actually master certain topics in just one time of studying. We think that the second one, their time to pursue higher education will be less, and there are actually less incentive to pursue that higher education because of that less time. And we think that they should have the option and the capability to pursue this higher education because it is very helpful for them to find a better job, for example, for them to be smarter, or for them to just grow into a better human being. So we think that when people actually pursue a higher education, we think as the government itself, we also have the interest to have a better quality in the human resources itself. So when implementing our motion, we think that people will have a shorter time in finishing their education, and they can spend more time in polishing their studies before becoming a productive adults or pursuing a higher education. And people that are actually not that into school, for example, people that are less diligent, we believe that these people will be pushed to be able to study more when they see that students that are younger than them actually can pass a higher education and a higher grade than them. So in conclusion, we believe it will be better on our side of the house because our side of the house maximize education for our children. So in this debate, I have already proven to you 2 points. Firstly, about arranging students based on their age is already outdated, and we need to change it into a new motion and a new in a new policy, which is to change the children arrangement based on their intelligence and academic performance rather than on their age. And the secondly, I have already proven to you too about how our side of the house is able to maximize education for our children, and our side brings more good than harm, and the opposition side will bring more harm than good. So therefore, we think that the government team should win, and you should vote for team government. Thank you.